Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid throughout the state. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us, because together we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
A Louisiana law giving childhood sex abuse survivors more time to file civil suits is in legal limbo.
And the history of Louisiana's orphan trains.
Louisiana's famous fiddler Amanda Shaw chats about her career and shining the spotlight on the state's musical heritage.
And our next young hero is a poet and a role model for her peers.
All right, let's get started.
Let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Kara St. Cyr.
And I'm Karen LeBlanc. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of Louisiana, the state we're in. But first, a story that is getting a lot of attention. Some state lawmakers are trying to make it easier to block public records from the public. A bill from Republican State Senator Heather Cloud would exempt a wide range of official documents from public record laws.
That's right. Supporters, including Governor Jeff Landry, claim the records have been, quote, weaponized. Critics, including government watchdog groups and journalists, say the measure would shield officials from accountability and block the public from seeing how taxpayer money is being used.
And now on to a sensitive story that deals with the legal battle over the look-back law. The law passed in 2021, extending the statute of limitations for civil claims in childhood sexual abuse cases. But now the state Supreme Court has ruled the look-back law unconstitutional, a decision that raises a host of moral, legal, and ethical questions with victims caught in the legal crossfire. Here's the latest.
In December 2018, the man who raped me as a child appeared on TV, and I went into complete collapse mode.
Stephen McAvoy was 54 when he saw the face of his alleged sexual abuser, Catholic deacon George Brignac, on televised news reports.
His teacher was this man, Deacon George Brignac.
Brignac had been arrested multiple times on molestation charges while working in New Orleans area churches and schools. He died in 2019 before facing trial. Stephen wrote a letter to the Catholic Church describing his alleged sexual abuse in graphic detail.
At the start of 1976, I was in the 5th grade, an altar boy at St. Mary Mag.
He says of that day in 2018 when he saw his alleged abuser on TV, quote, "A box that had been stored and forgotten deep in my brain was opened." Soon after, Stephen confessed to his wife Colleen that he had been sexually abused as a 10-year-old 5th grade altar boy.
I could tell no one, for we were taught that clergy were the next closest thing to God. As a victim of child sexual abuse, you don't come forward until you're at a much older age. And a lot of that comes through the guilt, the shame that you were at fault. And you never want to have to live through that again. Well, imagine telling your parents that, or imagine telling your wife that, what you've been through. We're not getting the opportunity to heal because the look-back law is being covered up again.
Lawmakers passed the look-back law unanimously in 2021, extending the statute of limitations for Stephen and other childhood sexual abuse survivors to file civil lawsuits.
What it does is it says all of the cases related to childhood sexual abuse that were expired or past their time limit prior to 2021, it revives them. So essentially what it does is give child sex abuse survivors a second chance at justice. So almost as soon as the law was passed, we started receiving challenges from various Catholic entities saying that this law violates the Louisiana Constitution.
The Louisiana Supreme Court recently ruled that the look-back law is unconstitutional. In the Douglas Bienvenu et al. Versus the Society of the Roman Catholic Church of the Diocese of Lafayette and St. Martin de Tours Catholic Church, 4 state Supreme Court justices agreed to strike down the law, while 3 justices wanted the law upheld.
The Louisiana Supreme Court gave pedophiles an untouchable constitutional right to get away with child rape.
Stephen is one of many adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse caught in the crossfire of a legal battle over the constitutionality of the look-back law. He wants the right to file a civil suit and get information and compensation.
If we don't protect our most vulnerable, shame on us.
State Senator Jay Luno authored a resolution seeking to clarify the legislature's intent when Louisiana lawmakers unanimously passed the look-back law.
The intent was for us to give these people that were abused, sexually abused as children, to give them the opportunity to go back and to file a lawsuit in a civil court, because a lot of times they can't do anything in the criminal courts because somebody's dead or they're too old or whatever, what have you, but it gives them an opportunity to come back in and seek justice.
So the average age that a childhood sexual abuse survivor comes forward is around age 52, and that's of the ones that actually even come forward. Around 30% never come forward at all.
Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill is concerned that the state Supreme Court's look-back law ruling effectively erodes the separation of powers under the Louisiana Constitution.
One of the foundations of our civil law system is that law is a solemn expression of legislative will, not judicial will.
The state attorney general has filed an application for a rehearing of the Bienvenu case. Her office released a public statement saying that the majority opinion is, quote, an open door for freewheeling judicial policymaking.
The nature of the analysis that was conducted by the Supreme Court, the way that they wrote the substantive due process analysis in this opinion means that the legislature basically could set a statute of limitations and never be able to change it. I mean, it just does have long-term implications for lots of different laws.
It's not just going to be limited to the sexual abuse cases. It would be interpreted to apply to numerous other cases, and it would open up a floodgate of litigation, in my opinion.
Apart from the rights of sexual abuse survivors, the state Supreme Court ruling could hamstring the legislature's ability to extend the statute of limitations in other scenarios, such as filing tort claims for compensation in times of natural disasters. The Society of the Roman Catholic Church of the Diocese of Lafayette and St. Martin de Tours Catholic Church filed a motion in opposition to the Attorney General's rehearing request. Lead attorney Gil Dozier has not responded to multiple requests for an interview to explain the defendant's position. As for Stephen, he can't pursue criminal charges, but he can take civil action if the look-back law stands. He wants transparency, to know what the Catholic Church knew about his alleged abuser.
It's up to the Archdiocese of New Orleans to literally tell us, this is what happened, and we want to say we're sorry. Here's the truth, so that we can heal. Hand us the paperwork. We know there's paperwork out there.
From hashtags to headlines, here's what's trending. So the countdown is on to the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and celebrations are underway with the traditional torch lighting. What fanfare, right?
Yes, and I'm excited to see what it's going to look like in Paris this year, but I wanted to give you some information about the torch. So they've been lighting the Olympic torch since 1936. It's first time that it was out in public. It was 1936. It was in Berlin, and now, every single time it goes to a different city, they changed the design of the torch to where it looks kind of like the new place that it's in. So I'm excited to see what it looks like in Paris.
Yeah, we have, I think it's an amazing that tradition has dated back to ancient Greece and endured all this time. So quite a spectacle. And thank you for that history lesson, by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I learned a lot. All right, so here's the deal. Lights out tonight between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. And here is why. It's the spring bird migration. Yes, it's a thing. So you do not want to be responsible for distracting those birds along their route. So if you're a late nighter, lights out.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be about 14 million birds. That is a lot of different birds. And me being a wealth of information, I figured out some of the names of the birds. So I'm going to read it. The yellow-rumped warbler. Ooh. And the ruby-crowned kinglet.
Useful hobby there. Well, moving on to the Coachella Music Festival, and Louisiana is well represented. Grammy Award winner John Batiste and rapper Juvenile took the stage at the festival.
Yes, they performed a Louisiana classic. I'm not going to say the name on the news, but it took over the 99 in the 2000s. So y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
And Coachella is on my bucket list. I will get to that music festival at some point.
But if you go, there's like an entire, list of items that you have to bring. You need to bring like a blanket, a book sack with like a bunch of water in it. It's not an easy feat to get there because you're going to be in the desert. And if you want to see John Batiste perform again, he'll be in New Orleans next weekend for Jazz Fest, among other Louisiana greats.
And speaking of music, it is perfect timing because 2024 is the year of the music in Louisiana, celebrating the Bayou State as the birthplace of jazz, Cajun, and Zydeco. Louisiana has a long history of producing musical legends, including rising star Amanda Shaw, who hails from Hammond. The artist is fostering the fiddle's mainstream appeal on the world stage. I met up with Amanda in New Orleans to chat about her career. She is celebrating 20 years with the re-release of her first album.
I'm joined by Louisiana Music Hall of Famer and fiddler Amanda Shaw, who is a tireless ambassador for Louisiana. On this busy weekend, it's the weekend of French Quarter Festival, and you've been out there promoting and performing, so thank you for coming in to talk to us.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with you to talk about all things Louisiana and music. I love it. I love the opportunity to do that, so thanks for having me.
Of course. I Googled you, and Google describes you as an American fiddler and a singer, but I gotta say, you are so much more than that. I mean, you play Cajun, Zydeco, cover hits, pop. How do you choose your music? Because it's so wide-ranging.
Thank you. Well, and I'm a songwriter as well. So, I write a lot of my music too, which is a really important piece of it. I grew up playing Cajun music here in Louisiana, learning Cajun music from some of the greats. So a lot of my songwriting is inspired by Louisiana culture, inspired by things here in Louisiana. We're just here living it, but to other people, it's a very interesting place. And so how can I try to capture that in my music when I'm writing my music?
You picked up the fiddle at age 4?
Yeah.
What drew you to the fiddle? Of all the musical instruments, most young children play the piano. You picked the fiddle.
I was watching TV. I was probably watching a PBS show if I had to guess. I'm not kidding. And I just remember seeing the violin, and I just was like, that looks so cool. And we lived in Hammond, Louisiana, right down the road from Southeastern. Southeastern has a great music program, community music school. So my mom took me down there to start taking violin lessons from one of the student teachers. My mom tried putting me in guitar lessons. My mom tried putting me in piano lessons, and none of that stuck the way violin stuck. I really enjoyed practicing violin. I enjoyed the instrument, just something about the instrument itself. There was like a a challenge to it that I like.
So we use the term violin.
Yeah.
But they describe you as a fiddler. But you're a violinist. A fiddler. What is the difference?
Generally, it's really the same thing. It's more how you treat it. And I'm definitely a little rough. Growing up as a kid, playing fiddle was not seen as cool at all. But I didn't feel that way because in my head I was like, well, it's the same 12 notes. So, I feel like inside of me, it's just more of it's an energy and it's a treatment that you give your instrument and how you put it, how you present it, how you put it out there.
You definitely have a signature look. I like the short skirts and the sparkly top.
I love getting dressed up, and to me that is a big part of what I do. I love, Before I go play a big show, any show really is picking out my dress, picking out what I'm gonna wear, how am I gonna do my makeup, and like taking that time to, put on some fun music and get pumped up and then go hit the stage, and have fun.
As I watch you perform, I'm so curious, like, what is going on in your soul and in your psyche when you're up there at one with the music? Because it just comes across so connected with what you're doing.
It's about just being in that moment, really enjoying it, and being ready for anything, and then, being just proud of what you did whenever you get off, and then, going on to the next one, and doing it again.
2024 in Louisiana is the year of the music.
Yes.
It is a celebration of all of our contributions to the musical arts. What would you say that makes Louisiana music so distinct in our talent pool here?
Louisiana is not the world's biggest state. It's not that small, but it's not that big. And the fact that we have everything, we have Grammy Award winners, we have, Cajun music, Zydeco music, the birthplace of jazz. Like, we have birthed so much stuff. What an incredible honor it is to just be able to say, hi, I'm Amanda Shaw, and I'm a musician from Louisiana. I feel so lucky that I get to say that,
What's next for Amanda Shaw?
The last 2 years I've been commuting to Nashville, and I've been working with Kent Wells, who is the producer and musical director for Dolly Parton, which is so crazy because, when I was a teenager, I had CDs. I grew up with CDs. I had my little CD booklet with all my little CDs in the booklet and choosing. And now, 2 years later, I get to say that Kent is not just, somebody I met, but he's now a friend, he's a mentor, and that I get to work on music with somebody that I've looked up to for so long is so awesome. And again, I hope that my wildest dreams, I still don't even know yet. So hopefully the next thing is something even bigger and better and greater, so.
Well, thank you, Amanda Shaw. You keep on keeping us down.
Oh, thank you.
Spreading the joy.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Many people in Louisiana identify as French, but there's a chance that some in this group might actually be Irish, German, or even English. In the mid-1800s, trainloads of orphaned immigrant children from New York came to Louisiana to find adoptive parents. These stories have been relatively hidden, at least until now. Take a look. Mid-1800s New York was experiencing a population boom. Immigrants, mainly from Ireland, Germany, and England, were crossing the Atlantic in hopes of a better life. But unfortunately, many families were met with the brutality of poverty, disease, and homelessness that was rampant in the city at the time. The most vulnerable group were immigrant children. Historians hypothesize that anywhere between 10,000 to 30,000 children lived on the street by 1850. In today's math, that'd be about 150,000 orphans. So how did New York manage its swelling population and growing orphan problem? It has to do with this guy, Charles Loring Brace. He borrowed the place-out method that would take orphan children on trains to other parts of the U.S., where kids would be matched with adoptive parents. The trains were nicknamed Orphan Trains, and Louisiana is linked to them.
My father was a New York orphan. He was born October the 27th, 1904. He came to Louisiana April 1907. He came in the first trainload of orphans to Opelousas. He was 2.5 years old when he got here. At that time, he was probably learning to speak English, but his parents that adopted him spoke French, so they taught him how to speak French.
Martin Roy Jr. is the embodiment of a history he was never taught. His father, Martin Roy Sr., was an orphan train rider who hid his past behind a lifetime of Cajun values and Louisiana traditions. He acclimated to rural Louisiana well, even successfully running for mayor in 1942. His campaign would emphasize that he was born in Opelousas, a white lie revealed only after his death. Why do you think he wouldn't want to acknowledge that he was an orphan?
I think that was just a fact that they didn't want to acknowledge the fact that they were orphans. There were several people that I was familiar with that I found out later they were orphans, but they never acknowledged the fact that they were orphans and also came from New York.
The orphan train discovery left Roy and his family with a web of unanswered questions. each crumb of information leading to another fork in the road.
My interest wasn't really in who the parents would have been, but maybe what country they would have come from, to know what nationality we might have in us. We haven't found too much.
So what's, I guess, the biggest roadblock with finding information out about him?
Keeping was not done real good at the time, and the records that were kept, they have kept private.
The Roy family is hardly a unique story. Thousands of other Louisiana families are linked to orphan trains. It's estimated that 2,000 children were sent to Louisiana from New York between 1869 and 1929.
We know there are people out there who don't know. It was an untold history. There was a huge stigma placed during that time. I'm second generation to an orphan train rider, and it was very hushed up. They were very quiet about it.
Martha Aubert is the board president of the Orphan Train Museum in Opelousas. Her mission is to gather as many people with this shared history as possible, but it's hard to track.
There's a lot of sealed documents there, and, privacy acts, I'm sure. And I do truly believe it was for the protection of the children.
Orphan train children were bullied for being different, making their identity something to be ashamed of and hidden. Yet the Orphan Train Museum is collecting stories from families trying to put the pieces back together.
We have a list of 433 names. We want to double that.
History is slowly unraveling itself. For the Roys, the search is still ongoing, but it's definitely worth it. This week's young hero finds comfort in poetry. When she can't speak the words, she writes them in stanzas and complicated verses that reference feelings she may not quite understand yet. She's used these literary tools to communicate pride, love, and even deep loss. Tonight, I'll tell you her story. Meet Gigi George.
My first poem that I wrote was entitled Brown Skin Girl. It was about me. I just wrote all of the things that brown skin girls embody. We're powerful, we're really intelligent, we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. So I wrote about that.
Gigi George uses poetry as an avenue for expression as life around her becomes more complicated.
I really got into poetry seriously after my brother died.
Her bonus brother, Tyron Henderson, was killed in 2022. He was a mentor, a friend, and an irreplaceable part of Gigi's life. When her emotions became too difficult to acknowledge, pen to paper could relieve, if not heal, what she was going through.
I was just writing poems about him still being here. Over time, it started to register that, Gigi, he gone. But the poems that I wrote about him were how much I love him, how much he helped me, how much he grew me. And it happened kind of like in the holidays for us, like Christmas and also her birthdays. So that was a time where she didn't get to enjoy herself. How did she handle that? Well, I made the best of it. We made the best of it. I showered her with gifts. She has a fun, loving spirit. So any negative, she turns into a positive.
Poetry and grief reshaped Gigi's perspective. She promised herself she'd always turn a negative into a positive.
I just started doing anything I put my mind to because that let me know that, time is really of the essence. Time is really short.
And she'd live out her days doing what's best for herself and her community. So far, that's exactly what she's doing. Gigi is an excellent student. She's a member of the National Honor Society, and she served on the East Baton Rouge Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. There, she got to work with community members and really express how people her age see the city of Baton Rouge.
But these were my peak years. These were my years where I was getting out of my shell. So I ran for vice president of Boys and Girls Club. From there, I want to say in 9th grade, I joined Mayor's Youth Council because I felt, my head was so amped up. I felt like if I'm gonna be vice president, I gotta take it all the way.
At school, her leadership skills carry over. Teachers describe her as a pillar of her class, often taking the reins on large projects, especially those involving her history and heritage.
She is enthusiastic, a leader, compassionate, engaging. She's one of those students where if she's not there, like the class feels off.
You notice?
I noticed, like the class feels off because she brings like a light to the classroom. She'll even pose questions back to me to get the conversation or the lesson going deeper than I even planned. She challenges me.
This Black History Month, she helped organize a widespread effort to tell her community's stories through food, poetry, and organizing. The event was a huge success, and not only did she volunteer for every single event, but she got to showcase more of her talent and share it with the entire school.
She pulled off being a part of the planning committee and writing 2 poems that she executed during the Poetry Slam and the program, and had a standing ovation at the program.
What was that like watching that?
I was very proud because she expressed her pride, her Black pride in her poetry, and it brought Black pride to the entire school, because this wasn't just, my African American Studies students in this program. This was the entire school, 1,200 students.
High school is almost over for Gigi. This is her senior year. She'll continue her philanthropy and volunteering into adulthood. She plans to become a nurse. And get this, she'll be the first person in her immediate family to go to college.
She will become a nurse practitioner. That is her goal. That's what she's working towards. And I do believe that is what she will become.
This part of Gigi's life is just a verse in an epic waiting to be completed.
Well, I sense great things are in store for Gigi George, and also it just shows the therapeutic power of words and writing and journaling and poetry, right?
Yes, and I can't wait to see the other poetry slams that she's going to participate in, because she really is a talented kid. Now, LPB's Louisiana Young Heroes program is presented this year with the generous support of the East Baton Rouge Parish Library, the Gail and Tom Benson Charitable Foundation, with additional support from Community Coffee, the U.S. Army Baton Rouge Recruiting Battalion, Demco, McDonald's, and Origin Hotel Baton Rouge.
Well, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime wherever you are with our LPB app.
You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows as well as other Louisiana programs you've come to enjoy over the years. And please, like us on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Karen LeBlanc.
And I'm Kara St. Cyr. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support for Louisiana, the state we're in, is provided by
Entergy Louisiana is strengthening our power grid throughout the state. We're reinforcing infrastructure to prepare for stronger storms, reduce outages, and respond quicker when you do need us, because together we power life.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana.
And by Visit Baton Rouge and the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.